Welcome. InfoOhio is happy to bring you this breakout session at OETC 2021. A little different this year as this is a pre-recorded session. And as a pre-recorded session, please feel free to revisit this session as often as you need to support the work that you do with your students in your classrooms. My name is Mary Rolland, and I am a professional instructional specialist with InfoOhio. But before coming to InfoOhio, I taught high school English for 14 years. And I'm really excited to share with you today some of my favorite InfoOhio resources that I use with my students to support inquiry and research in my classroom. So whether you are adopting a project-based learning model in your classroom, or you're just looking to maybe update your research and inquiry units, or you just want to support the development of inquiry skills, this presentation will support you as you teach your students to become better problem solvers and critical thinkers. So let's go ahead and get started. InfoOhio is Ohio's pre-K-12 digital library. We provide premium digital content and web tools at no cost to Ohio's teachers, students, and families. Equity is at the heart of our mission, ensuring that each Ohio pre-K-12 student has equal access to high-quality digital resources for a successful education and future. Furthermore, our vision is to transform student learning through equitable access to quality resources and cost-effective instructional and technical support. So today we're going to take a look at how to use InfoOhio's digital tools and resources to support the inquiry process and develop critical thinking skills in our students. We'll look at some sample activities that can be used in classrooms. So inquiry is a student-centered approach to learning. Barbara Stripling defines inquiry as the process of learning that is driven by questioning, thoughtful investigating, making sense of information, and developing new understandings. And inquiry helps students develop three critical areas: questioning, critical thinking, and problem solving. And we can see from the image here on the screen that inquiry serves as the foundation for many other student-centered instructional strategies, including project-based learning, Genius Hour, and design thinking. InfoOhio's Dimensions of Inquiry is based on the work of leading researchers in the field of education and library science. These 6 dimensions are designed to support the development and growth of inquiry skills in students and include the following: questioning, locating information, evaluating information, applying information, sharing information, and reflecting. And now that we looked at what inquiry is, the question becomes, why inquiry? So here on the screen, we see a sketch note created by Sylvia Duckworth. She's an author who has popularized creating sketch notes as a way to retain information, increase focus, and help students really see the big picture. And this image highlights the benefits of inquiry-based learning in our classrooms and school libraries. And some of these benefits include fortifying the importance of asking good questions, enabling students to take ownership over their own learning and to reach their goals, empowering student voice and honoring student choice, and deepening an understanding to go beyond just memorizing facts and content. So let's dive into the InfoOhio website and take a look at how we can take advantage of the benefits of inquiry-based learning in our classrooms and our school libraries. If you're new to InfoOhio, here are some key steps for getting started. First, start at www.infohio.org. Check the top left corner of the screen to make sure that you are logged in. You will probably see your school or district name in the top left corner, or it might say statewide user. So if you are not logged in, this button will be red. Click it and do a search for your school district name to find your password. And today we'll take a look at resources that are applicable for students ranging from grades K through 12. So let's start with questioning. Good preparation before beginning inquiry often determines how successful students will be. The questions that need to be answered bring focus to the process of inquiry. And teaching students the skills and importance of asking good questions provides a solid foundation for learning. And we can model how to use questioning skills in our classroom by using essential questions. And essential questions are used to frame each unit of study. According to a Scholastic Teacher article, a good question, regardless of the grade level of students, should satisfy 3 criteria. Number 1, it should be interesting. Remember, we want to spark curiosity. Number 2, it should invite ongoing debate and conversations to create knowledge. And number 3, it should require students to learn and use the same understandings and strategies as real experts in the field. We want to teach our students how to think like a scientist or think like a historian. So for example, a unit on hibernation might begin with the essential question, what makes a good home? And students might suggest qualities such as a good home provides shelter, safety, and includes family members. And this process then prompts students to ask more questions like what makes a home safe? An article from Edtopia in December cited a 2020 study that found that college students who generated their own questions during and after studying a topic outperformed their classmates on an assessment. So let's practice how we can implement a strategy to help our students generate good questions that will support learning. And I'm going to take us to a Jamboard that I created that could be used to introduce a unit on habitation and help students generate good questions to guide inquiry and spark curiosity. So here we are on the Jamboard I created. And to help my students develop good questions and get them excited and engaged in an upcoming unit or activity, I might start with an I see, I think, I wonder. And for this activity, again, I'm using Google Jamboard. It's a virtual white space where students can collaborate, but any virtual board like Padlet would work for this activity also. And here I've pictured, right here I have a picture to spark inquiry with a simple direction to my students. Add a note to this page and finish the sentence, I see. At this point, I just want my students to begin noticing the details in the picture. So take a look at this picture and think about what are some things that your students would notice? How would they answer this question or finish this sentence? Take a moment here to pause the recording and jot down a few things that you think your students might notice when they take a look at this picture. The first thing students might notice when they look at this picture is the coyote sitting on the seat. So I see a coyote sitting on the seat. But students might also notice other objects in the picture that might provide them clues as to where the coyote is, like the empty seats. Some students might notice that this is a train, others might think it is a bus, or others might not really quite be sure at this point as to where the coyote is. Some students might point out that they notice a window behind the coyote. Next, then, I want my students to start thinking about what they see. So I added the instruction to the top of the page. Add a note to this page and finish the sentence, I think. So go ahead and pause the recording here for a moment and jot down some answers to yourself. What do you think your students would start to think about when they look at this picture? And as we see here in the next slide, we have one student suggests, I think the coyote is cold because he is curled up on the seat. Another student takes a look at the window. I think it's raining outside. Another student starts to think about the empty seats. I think the seats are empty because people are afraid of the coyote. And then next, I would ask my students to start generating some questions. Now that they have gathered some information about the elements within the picture, this is where they can start to formulate some questions. Go ahead and pause the video and think of some questions your students might begin to start to formalize by trying to finish this sentence. I wonder. So the most obvious question when we look at this picture is, why is there a coyote on the bus? Or maybe your students have begun to notice that this doesn't quite look like a bus. So you have one student here that's posted the question, I wonder if this is a bus. It doesn't look like my bus. And in fact, this is actually a picture from a commuter train. Other students might begin to question why the coyote is all alone, how the coyote got on the bus, why the coyote is on the bus, is the coyote trying to get out of the rain? So now let's go back to our slide deck and look at how this might be worked into a unit on habitation. The previous example explored how to use images to engage students in creating their own questions. So I might use this I think, I see, I wonder activity to introduce a unit on habitats. Remember, one student asked the question, why is there a coyote on the bus? Or in this case, we've come to find out that it's actually a train. And the answer to that can be explored a little further in a unit on habitats, as we look at what happens when humans begin building and living in areas that are traditionally home to animals. And InfoOhio offers resources to help your students as they develop questions for inquiry. So I found this particular image from World Book, and you can use InfoOhio resources just like World Book Kids to help your students kind of spark some inquiry and develop questions that invite conversation and encourage them to think like a scientist or a historian. So here we have World Book Kids. This is where I found my image. And students can search World Book Kids using a keyword search here on the screen. World Book Kids is appropriate for your students' grades K through 5. Your K through 5 students can also browse World Book Kids for pictures and videos by clicking on pictures and videos at the bottom of the home page. For those of you working with older students, students in grades 9 through 12 can conduct a keyword search in World Book Advanced. And again, they can narrow their search results and look just at images that apply to that particular keyword that they're searching. For students in grades 6 through 8, you can consider using World Book Student. Again, this very same search can be conducted in all 3 World Book resources. To spark student curiosity and create opportunities for students to engage in self-directed learning and free inquiry, consider using I Wonder with students in grades 4 through 9. I Wonder is a collection of websites curated by school librarians and InfoOhio to support students with homework and research. I Wonder is divided into 11 categories that you see here on the screen. The 12th category is a link to ISearch for students to use if they want to find more information about any topic. From each of the 11 categories, there's a link to subcategories, and each subcategory also begins with a question just like you see here on the screen. And this helps students with the process of narrowing down that topic. Once they click on a subcategory, students are directed to age-appropriate resources from the web that provide them more information about that particular topic. And again, to continue to support the inquiry process in your classroom, InfoOhio developed I Wonder Genius Hour. And you can access I Wonder Genius Hour teacher guide along with the student resources by clicking on teacher resources at the top of the homepage. And Genius Hour was a practice developed from, Genius Hour developed from a practice known as 20% time. And Google started this practice of allowing employees to devote 20% of their time to passion projects. So I Wonder Genius Hour offers teachers the opportunity for students to ask questions and personalize their learning while also helping them to strengthen their research skills and engage in a passion project to learn more about a topic that the student is personally invested in learning more about and discovering more information about. Students can record what they learn about their topic on the I Wonder Genius Hour worksheet. And the Genius Hour worksheet is provided in 2 formats that can be shared or printed for student use. As the teacher, you can access a PDF copy of this student worksheet, or you can access a Word document and then customize that document for your students. To locate information using reliable, trustworthy, and quality resources requires search skills. And whether you and your students are using a search engine or one of InfoOhio's search tools like ISearch, using precise keywords will lead you and your students to the results that you want. Adding limiters will help to quickly narrow your search results into a nice, manageable list. So let's take a look at how to guide students through the process of conducting a keyword search using limiters to locate information. So Monday mini lessons demonstrate how to combine best practices for digital reading with InfoOhio's resources in a remote learning environment. So let's join a high school class currently in progress. Prior to the lesson, the student and teacher began with an essential question. How does social media contribute to the spread of fake news? The teacher and students worked together to develop guiding questions and keywords to use when they are conducting a search for articles in iSearch or conducting a search on the web. And as we watch this lesson in progress, notice how the teacher guides the students through the process of locating information in iSearch. iSearch searches nearly all of InfoOhio's digital content from one single search box. And much of the content that you find through iSearch is not freely available on the open web. Just like Netflix has premium content that you can't find anywhere else, the same is true for iSearch. So we can access iSearch from the homepage, from the InfoOhio homepage. And before we do, let's take a look at our research planning form from yesterday and take a look at the keywords that we came up with yesterday. So here's our essential question. How does social media contribute to the spread of fake news? And here were some of our guiding questions that we're digging deeper into. Why is fake news spread on social media? What additional factors contribute to the spread of fake news? And how does fake news mislead people? So yesterday we started with a simple keyword search and we used the keywords fake news. So let's put that into our iSearch box and see what happens. We'll go over here and we're just going to type in fake news and click on iSearch. So we're going to start with the basic sources tab. And I'm just going to leave this screen up here for just a moment. And I want you to look at the screen. What do you notice about the results? Sarah?
There are a lot of results. It looks like over 27,000 results, which is not as many as a Google search, but still a lot.
Yeah, that's still a lot of results. A lot more than we can like sift through all at once, right? Anyone notice anything else about our search results? Emily?
I noticed there are a lot of magazines. We didn't get a lot of those when we used Google to search for this.
Good. And Emily, do you recognize any of these magazines?
Yeah, Time Magazine.
Thank you, Emily. And as Sarah pointed out, we have over 27,000 results. That's way too many to go through to find answers to our guiding questions. So we're going to use the limiters here on the left side of the screen to help us narrow down these results. And we're going to start with the subject limiters. So from just the first 5 that we see displayed here, do any of these subject limiters look similar to some of our subject keywords that we developed or that we added to our research planning form yesterday? Matt?
Looks like social media, and we had journalism, which is pretty close to accuracy in journalism.
Great. Thank you, Matt. And I like that you noticed the similarity between the keyword that we had, journalism, and the subject limiter that we see here, accuracy in journalism. So, and remember too, we can use the advanced sources tab. We're not going to look at that one today, but if you click over to the advanced sources tab, you'll find limiters along the left. And in fact, you'll find the subject limiter on the left as well for the advanced sources tab. So let's take a look at the social media limiter, and I'm going to click on the social media limiter. And that gets us to 32 results. And that's a much more manageable list that we can sift through. So I'm going to pause here for just a moment. And I'd like you to take a look at the results on the screen, take a look at the headlines, and think about our guiding questions. Are there any articles you think we should take a closer look at that might help us answer some of our guiding questions from our research planning form? Sarah?
I think the first one there, fake news, fake data, how bad data and misleading graphs are fueling fake news.
Great. Yeah, and why did you pick this one?
One of our guiding questions is about what factors contribute to the spread of fake news. So maybe images, graphs, and charts have something to do with the spread of fake news.
Great, thank you for your observation. As we see in the video, the teacher started with a keyword search that yielded over 27,000 results. So to help students locate the information that they need, the teacher added a subject limiter using the keywords that the students and teacher developed the day before. And immediately that limited this list of search results to just over 30 articles that will really better address the questions that the students and teachers the student and teacher developed together. The teacher also paused to allow students to reflect on their results and reflect on the advantage of using ISearch becomes very clear. Students immediately recognized that the content they found in ISearch was different from an internet search, and they began to recognize popular magazines that were listed in their search results. Furthermore, students used their guiding questions to help them select an article that they could read a little further. So for example, you saw that the student used the guiding questions to maybe start looking at this particular article here at the top of your list. So in this Monday mini lesson, we saw how databases provide students access to articles from magazines and academic journals and trade publications that are free of distracting pop-up ads and hyperlinks. And many of the databases in InfoOhio offer read aloud options and translation features for students who need additional support. InfoOhio offers several databases for students in grades K through 12 to use so that they can locate trustworthy information. But nearly all of InfoOhio's databases can be accessed through ISearch. As demonstrated in the Monday mini lesson, ISearch searches nearly all of InfoOhio's digital content from one single search box. If your library automates their library catalog with InfoOhio, you can also search the contents of your library on the My Library tab. And for those of you who are working with younger students, consider using Gale in Context Elementary. It's a great starter database for students in grades K through 6 to practice locating information in a database. And again, this database offers articles, biographies, videos, and images for your K-5 students. Learning how to effectively evaluate information is not only an inquiry skill, it's a life skill. And whether it is evaluating the contents of a contract or recognizing bias in an article or on a website, evaluating the quality of information is a skill that students will utilize beyond the classroom. So when evaluating information, students determine if the information they found is relevant to the task or the question. They recognize the point of view of the author and determine if there is bias. And students also categorize and organize the information they found from an article or from a website. Remember, one of the benefits of inquiry-based learning is that students gain a deeper understanding and go beyond memorizing facts and content. And evaluating the information they locate is the key to that deeper understanding. Let's practice evaluating a primary source using the Analyzing Primary Source graphic organizer located in Go, Ask, Act, Achieve. Primary resources are not just for history and social studies classrooms. As a middle school teacher, Sarah Cooper states in a June 2020 Edutopia article, by working with primary source materials, students not only gain a better understanding of history, but also develop the skills needed to process current events. The student can begin anywhere on this graphic organizer, but let's start with evaluating the point of view and see if we can answer these questions. Did you find any information in the primary source that you did not expect? And did the point of view of the author surprise you? So here we have a primary source I found using ISearch, and this is Paul Revere's account of the events of April 18th, 1775, which details his ride from Boston to Lexington to warn of the advancement of British troops. And this event has been retold so many times that you could use this primary source in a history classroom as part of a unit on the American Revolutionary War, or you could use it in an English classroom and pair it with Longfellow's poem to compare and contrast the primary source account of the event with the poem that was written nearly 100 years later. So let's zoom in. And I cut and pasted a section from the primary source into a Google Doc just so we could read it a little easier here today and begin evaluating the point of view. Remember, we want to answer these two questions. Did you find any information in the primary source that you did not expect? And did the author's point of view surprise you? So take some time to pause the recording and see if you can answer these two questions based on the very small sample you have here. So as we see, the student identifies that this is a first-person point of view. And let me just zoom in on the top question here. And although many students know the basic of Paul Revere's famous ride, this student was surprised to learn that Revere had been captured, threatened, and yet claims he was not afraid. As the student continues to evaluate the primary source, we see that the process of evaluating the primary source leads to more questions, and the student has listed those questions here at the bottom. And this really highlights the cyclical nature of inquiry. As a student evaluates information and locates information, it inevitably raises more questions. InfoOhio has resources and tools to help students evaluate information. Featured in the previous slides, Go, Ask, Act, Achieve is a student tool to support students in grades 4 through 10 with the inquiry process by providing digital tools and resources to help students develop good questions, locate information, apply information, share information, and reflect on their learning. So to locate resources to help students evaluate information, visit ACT, How Do I Evaluate My Sources? And here, students will find the primary source document that we just took a look at and used, and students will find an additional document that will walk them through the 5 W's of website evaluation. InfoOhio's Research for Success is another great resource that teachers can use to help students learn how to evaluate digital content. This blended learning course presented in 6 modules teach rigorous research skills needed for college and careers. This tool is best for students in grades 11 through 12. As you see here on the screen, Module 3 focuses on teaching students how to evaluate digital content, And that includes everything from online magazines and news sources and websites. Here in activity number 1 that's highlighted for you, students practice identifying fake news using just the headline. And in activity number 2, students can access a graphic organizer that they can use to evaluate websites using the CRAP method. Students develop the skills to apply what they learn as they construct new meanings and understandings. And developing this skill allows students to apply their learning to new problems and challenges. Digital tools for creation offer new and exciting opportunities for students to apply and create products to demonstrate their learning. And technology can break down barriers that allow students to share their learning beyond the 4 walls of the classroom. InfoOhio has created a collection of digital tools to help students apply their learning through creation. So visit How Do I Create My Project? And on this page, you'll find links to familiar resources, including Google Slides and Canva and Prezi. But we've also curated a collection of resources to help students with project creation, including Picks for Learning. This is a resource that students can use to find copyright-free pictures that they can use in their projects. The resources on this page are curated and reevaluated periodically to determine their ease of use, accessibility, integration with Google Apps for Education, and educational value. Next, we have sharing information. As students apply what they learned, it's important to provide students with the opportunity to share their learning. Sharing information transforms students into educators and advocates. This is most powerful when students share their learning in real world or with a real world audience. So consider ways that you could share student work with colleagues, parents, families, community members by posting it to a class website. Explore opportunities for sharing work with an authentic audience beyond the classroom with resources from the page, How Do I Publish My Project, located on Go. InfoOhio's Book Nook is a great place for students to create and share book trailers with other students from across Ohio. And last, we have reflecting. And reflecting is often an overlooked skill, but we see it throughout the inquiry process. Students reflect on the information they find, and they think about how it influences their thinking. And students also reflect on how new information and new knowledge might impact their final product. So let's return to our ISearch Monday mini lesson, and we'll look at how our students reflected on the information they found and how it influenced the keywords they generated. So let's return back to our research planning form. And now that we've read a few of the paragraphs from this article, we've done a few sample searches, both in Google and ISearch. I think it's time to revisit our keywords and see if we can add any additional keywords to our research planning form. So does anyone have any ideas about some additional terms we might want to add? Emily?
Photos.
Great. Go ahead and put that down here. We talked about how photos might be a factor that contributes to, or that might be a way that people are misled by fake news using photos. Any additional terms that we'd like to add, Matt?
The article mentioned that phony photos were used as part of an effort to influence the 2016 election. So maybe we should add election to our search terms.
Perfect. Election. So here we can see that after reflecting on the evidence from the text, students were able to expand the list of keywords they generated. And we know that using precise keywords is the key to successful search results. So with an expanded list of keywords, students are more likely to locate the information that they need as they continue to explore their topic. By reflecting on their effort, process, and end product, students can learn much about themselves as learners and ways to improve. InfoOhio offers resources to students and teachers as they engage in meaningful reflection. Located in Go, Ask, Act, Achieve in the section, How do I evaluate my project? Is this feedback Q&A infographic. It provides examples of the types of questions students can ask the teacher or ask a classmate to help them improve and learn and grow. Furthermore, this document also includes helpful tips for teachers to provide targeted feedback so that you can help support learning and growth in your students. So hopefully this quick overview of the resources and tools from InfoOhio will pique your interest to learn more. And because we only did a quick overview of the resources today, I want to recommend using InfoOhio Campus to boost your knowledge of how to use the resources and integrate them into instruction. InfoOhio's learning pathways are self-paced online classes on InfoOhio resources and tools, and they're a great way to earn contact hours. You can visit the 612 Learning Pathway to learn more about how to use Worldbook, ISearch, and iWonder, and many other InfoOhio resources in your classroom. And if you teach grades K through 5, please visit the K-5 Learning Pathway to learn more about how to use Worldbook Kids, Gale in Context Elementary, and lots of other K-5 resources in your classroom. And if you're looking for more, check out additional on-demand sessions from InfoOhio designed to support school librarians, teachers, curriculum coaches, technology coaches, and school administrators. Are you growing the use of digital resources in your school or classroom with InfoOhio? If so, we want to hear from you. We like to spotlight teachers and school librarians that are using InfoOhio resources in schools across Ohio. Share your story for a chance to be featured on our website or in our biannual newsletters to our valued partners. In the notes for this slide, there's a link to a survey that you can complete and drop us a note and let us know how you're using the resources. We'd love to hear from you. And follow us on social media. Send a tweet, add a picture from your classroom or school library, showcasing your students using InfoOhio's digital resources. You can catch up on InfoOhio news items, blogs, and webinars, everything sent straight to your feed. And you can also join a community of InfoOhio supporters. So find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you for your time and joining me today. I know your time is very valuable, and I want to thank you for your dedication to your students and bringing them the best education. We want to support your work in the classroom with your students. So please reach out to us with questions, or if you would like more information about InfoOhio resources and using our resources in your classroom with your students or at home with their families. Thank you again.